We all know about Florida's big three: Florida State, Florida, Miami. But why is it not called the Big Four now that UCF is a Power Five team? Are they being disrespected? And should they be considered part of that quote unquote club now? Well, I'm going to talk about that right after a word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up, college sports fans, Big 12 fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Belly yourself on up to the bar and let me pour you out a shot of top shelf college football content. On tap today at Couz's Corner, we're talking about the UCF Knights and the fact they never get mentioned as part of the quote unquote big three, or what should be maybe the big four in the state of Florida when you talk about the Florida Power Five program. Keep in mind, UCF is now officially a Power Five team because they became an official member of the Big 12 in July 1st of this year, 2023. So I'm going to take a look at this subject here and talk about whether I think UCF should be part of the big four and maybe why they're not. Okay. So first thing I want to tell you is where I got the idea for this video. Big Three football talk: Miami, Florida State, and Florida. Now this was on a channel called Big Three T2Y. It's a very, very good channel, very entertaining channel. I recommend you go check it out. He's a Miami fan, but he also covers Florida and Florida State. And I'm here to tell you, folks, at some point he may need to change this channel and call it the Big Four football talk. And we're going to talk about why. When you look at the recruiting that UCF is doing right now, it is absolutely off the chain. I put a spreadsheet together that shows how UCF stacks up with the quote unquote big three. Okay. I color coded it to try to make it easier to read, kind of based on what their school colors are, but I didn't want to make it too dark, obviously. But anyway, when you look at this, when you look at the overall recruiting for all four of these schools, you've got I listed their rank in the conference, their rank nationally, average player rating, how many 4 and 5 star recruits they got, total number of commits they have, and then I looked at this recruiting overall in the state of Florida. Now, when you look at UCF, they are the top rated recruiting class right now in the 2024 class in the Big 12. Very impressive. They've only been an official member of the Big 12 for a little over a month, and they already have the top class in 2024. Now, let me add to that. This is a little side note. Arizona's actually listed at number 2 right now. So Jed Fish is doing a really good job recruiting out there for the Wildcats. But anyway, let's move on with the UCF. When you look at the other three, Florida's second in the SEC right now in 2024. Florida State right now actually has a top class in the ACC for 24, and Miami has the number 3 class in the ACC. When you look at nationally, UCF does fall behind the other three here, well behind Florida and Florida State, who were 3rd and 5th respectively. You've got Miami just a little bit ahead of UCF at 19th nationally, and there's UCF with the 25th overall class nationally. But still, guys, if you look at the fact that UCF was just a group of 5 team, 6-8 weeks ago, that's pretty impressive. To have the 25th overall recruiting class nationally is pretty impressive considering where they were just 6-8 weeks ago. Now, when you look at the overall average player rating, UCF sitting there at an 88.72, which does fall slightly behind Miami, who's at 89.4. Florida State is 91.58, and average player rating for Florida is 91.72. And by the way, I got this data from 24/7 Sports website. The number of 5-star recruits for each one: Florida has 2, Florida State has 3, Miami only with 1. UCF doesn't have any. But when you look at 4-star recruits, UCF's doing much, much better in this regard. UCF right now has 9 4-star recruits committed for the 2024 class already, guys. 9. That's impressive. Just to compare that to my team, West Virginia, we probably don't get 9 4-star recruits in a decade. Okay. And they have 9 already committed for the 2024 class alone. That's impressive. Miami has 5, so UCF actually has more 4-star recruits in Miami right now. Florida State and Florida each have 12. Now, when you look at the total number of commits, UCF and Miami have 19 apiece. Florida and Florida State have 21. And keep in mind, the total number of commits you get in the class do play a role in your overall ranking. And when you look at the number of recruits overall in the state of Florida, this right here, if I'm Florida, Florida State, Miami, this is really where I'm the most concerned about UCF's improvement. I'm worried about how much UCF has risen in recruiting in the state of Florida. UCF, Miami, and Florida State have all received verbal commitments from 10 recruits out of the state of Florida. So 10 of UCF's 19 recruits are out of Florida. And when you look at Florida, when you look at the University of Florida, they only have 7 recruits coming from the state of Florida. Now, I know they're recruiting, they're recruiting Georgia well, they're recruiting Alabama well, they're recruiting surrounding states well. I get that. So this is not an overall barometer, but it is something to be looking out for because, as you know, as we all know, the state of Florida is a hotbed for recruiting in one of the most heavily contested states in the country. Almost every school in the country is recruiting Florida, loaded with talent. Now, if UCF can continue to recruit at this level in the state of Florida and compete with the quote unquote big three, they will be a force to be reckoned with. Not only for these three, but for every school in the country, in my opinion. And this is why I did that video a few weeks ago talking about how UCF could be a Goliath in the Big 12 in the future. As a fan of another Big 12 team, while I'm glad to have UCF in the conference, I think they improved the conference. From a competitive standpoint, I'm a little bit concerned about the how fast they're rising and just the improvement they've made on the recruiting trail just in the last couple of years. Now, when you look at the 9 4-star recruits they do have committed, 8 of them were also being recruited or had offers at least by the other 3 Florida schools. 8 of the 9. So that means UCF was able to out-recruit the big 3 for 8 of those 9 4-star recruits. Now, those 9 4-star recruits are wide receiver Bradell Richardson, safety Jacob Good, linebacker Quay Birdsong, and I apologize if I'm butchering any of these names, running back Stacy Gage, wide receiver Rick Darius Farmer, who, oh, by the way, had previously committed to Pitt. So it doesn't hurt my feelings that he flipped from Pitt. But what does hurt my feelings, West Virginia was also going after this young man, and he ended up choosing UCF instead of West Virginia. But anyway, let's keep going. O-lineman Walt Claire Flynn Jr., cornerback Jalen Hayward, wide receiver Kylan Fox, and running back Frankie Arthur. Those are the 9 4-star recruits that UCF has verbally committed to them for the 2024 class. Now, one more thing I want to touch on here when it comes to recruiting is a tweet that was put out by Christian Simmons. Now, Christian Simmons covers UCF for the Pegasus podcast. He also has a blog. But here's what he had to say on his Twitter account just yesterday. As I'm recording this on August 11th, he said this on August 10th. Did you know UCF is one of just 20 programs that has 9+ blue chip commits in the 2024 class? 16 of those teams are current or future SEC Big Ten schools. If UCF can recruit like this year over year, they'll quickly become one of the most talent-rich teams in all of college football. And Christian Simmons is not wrong, folks. UCF is making a lot of headway in recruiting, a lot of headway, and are out-recruiting a lot of other Power 5 teams, even though they have only been a Power 5 team for about 6 weeks. So if I'm other Power 5 teams, I'm really concerned now about the rise of UCF. Now, do I think UCF should be considered part of the quote-unquote Big Four? I don't think they're there yet. Even though I think they're on the rise rapidly, even though I think they've earned respect and they're recruiting at a very high level, I don't think until they start playing on the field and performing on the field, I understand why they're still not being considered part of the quote-unquote Big Four. But I'm telling you, folks, the way they're recruiting and the fact they have Gus Malzahn there as head coach and the fact they're in the state of Florida, the fact they're now a Power 5 team, I think all of that bodes well for them. And I think within the next 5 years, this Big Three thing may not exist. You might be hearing about Big Four. And I also understand why UCF fans, when they first joined this league, I'll be honest with you, they were one of the most hated fan bases right off the bat because their fans seemed a little bit arrogant on Twitter. I have since discovered that they're not at all. They're actually really nice fans, really nice people. They just have a big chip on their shoulder, folks, and I understand why now. I think they feel disrespected because they've never been part of the quote-unquote big boy club with Florida, Florida State, and Miami. So, of course, that would make you have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. But I tell you what, their team, The Knights are earning a lot of respect by the way they're recruiting. They're now starting to draw national attention for what Coach Malzahn and his staff are doing there in Orlando. And I think it won't be long, very long, even though I don't think they should be considered part of the club yet. They will be probably like I said, within the next few years. And this Power Three thing or this Big Three thing may not exist. It might be called the Big Four. So if I'm Florida, Florida State, if I'm Miami, I'd be looking out because UCF is right on your tail, and they're not slowing down anytime soon. Let me know in the comment section, Couz's Corner family, what you think about this topic. Do you think it should already be called the Big Four? But just because they're a Power Five team and they're recruiting at a high level, should it automatically be called the Big Four? Or does UCF need to earn that by performing on the field and winning a lot of games at the Power Five level? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Also, please hit the like button, which is the thumbs up button below. Heck, you can hit the thumbs down button if you think this video sucks. That's okay too. You can also support me by subscribing to my channel. I thank you for getting me over the 6,000 mark. I'm on my way to 10K. I'd love to get to 10K by the end of the year. I know that's going to be tough, but I think I can do it with your help. One way you can help me do that is share this out with your friends. If you've got friends or family that love Big 12 football, West Virginia football, conference realignment talk, right here is where you need to be. I ask that you please share it out with your family and friends to help me grow this thing. And also, guys, if you want to support me financially here on the channel, there are several ways you can do it. First of all, you can join the exclusive club that's below. Become a Couz's Corner VIP. Scrolling along the bottom of the screen now are my pub level members. That's the $2.99 level. Earlier, you saw the club level members scrolling along the bottom. That's the $4.99 level. There are perks that go along with being a channel member. I'm planning to do some score prediction contests this year. I know Golden Blue Dude used to do those. His channel members seem to really enjoy it. I've had some of my channel members recommend I do something similar, so I will be doing it. And you will have to be a channel member to participate in those score prediction contests. Also, guys, you can support me by checking out my merch store. I have several designs to choose from, several items to choose from, so go check that out. Last but not least, you can give me a tip. Tip your server here at Couz's Corner. If you like the service I provided, leave me a tip by hitting the heart with the dollar sign right below. It's called the Super Thanks option. You can do that, make a one-time donation along with a comment that will get highlighted right here on my channel. With that being said, guys, I really appreciate you tuning in to this. I appreciate all the support. And until the next show, Q Country Roads.